Welcome to the Young, Dumb, and Love podcast, where we talk about all things marriage.
Our goal is to help equip you to have a marriage that is better than you have ever imagined by sharing real-life experiences, getting into the nitty-gritty, and sharing practical ways you can start today. Let's dive in.
We were young, we were dumb, and in love, but we knew this was made for
Welcome back to Young, Dumb, and in Love. We're so glad you guys are here. Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah, I mean, it won't be Valentine's Day when you hear this podcast.
This podcast is
but
a few
it's
days
Valentine's
later, but
right now.
Today is Valentine's Day.
What'd you get me?
My love. We're that old married couple that we're just happy to be with each other.
Yeah. I mean, I have expectations for certain things, but Valentine's
Day is
isn't
not
one for
things.
me.
Yeah.
But for
No,
some
I
people it
agree.
is. So if it's your expectation or
yours?
your spouse's, then you better do it.
Yes.
But we have a few fun little things.
Yeah.
So if you're just listening, you won't obviously see it. But so our little one, I went to her class and decorated her desk last night, which was so fun. And then she gave us this little Valentine's present. I'll show it. I mean, he can put it on the screen too. But this is so cute. It says, "Happy Valentine's Day. I love you so much. With you as my parents, I know what it means to love unconditionally. Love, Elsie."
Aww.
I'm pretty sure that the teacher told them what to write, but I'm just going to pretend like she came up with
This
it.
sounds very mature.
But we were laughing because, okay, so I'm over here and look like I have lip injections and filler. My lips are half my face, which I love. And then it's Elsie. And then Gabby's over here, and Gabby's like the tall one. She's taller than Julian. Mm-hmm. And then here's Julian right here.
Yep.
And it's a big circle.
Just a big circle.
And I'm like, oh, did she make your belly? Does it hurt your feelings? This is probably not intentional, but did we get a good laugh out of it?
Yes.
We
and
did.
it does not hurt my feelings. It just makes me go, so that's how she sees
No,
me.
I just think it's
Just
so
a big,
cute.
round belly.
I'm literally the shortest one and have lip injections. And then her sister's like super duper tall. It's so cute. I have very long blonde hair. So it's
a beautiful
cute.
thing seeing what your
It's
kids
great.
create
How
when
your
it comes
kids
to
see.
drawing their parents and the people
so
around them.
Cute. But yeah, that was so funny.
One day she'll make me just super buff and tall.
Oh,
and
that totally.
very handsome.
Absolutely. You're very handsome. Okay.
Yeah.
So then I also was like, okay, it's Valentine's Day. You know, you think about your love, your Valentine, the person that you spent so much time with. And this is our, I guess, let's see, 2005. So this is our 19th Valentine's.
19th.
Because we started dating in 2025, but not till June.
That's right, 19th.
So I was like, okay, let's go back through some pictures. I honestly, these are terrifying.
I think they're beautiful.
Okay. All right. Do you want me to show them like this?
Yeah.
Okay. This is the picture that was on our wedding invitations.
Yeah.
What is happening? This is a necklace. Remember the chonky necklace stage? But I had to make sure it was hanging over your shoulder.
Yeah. Why was it hanging over
And
my shoulder?
hair. Oh, speaking of hair, there's a story to this hair.
Oh, gosh.
And speaking of dumb things your spouse says.
I have a list of things that I've said that are just...
A list or a book? I'm just kidding.
I should write a book. That'd be great.
No, it's funny because
Do not say these
there's
things.
that you're like, put my foot in my mouth after. But so this haircut was a couple months before this picture. I went and got my haircut. And at the time, I mean, this is 2006.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, 2006. Yeah. Mm-hmm. This is 19 years ago. It was very
You were so
in
excited.
style to have really short hair, choppy, not it was very choppy.
Yeah. Lots of layers.
Blunt layers.
Yep.
And what they called peekaboo pieces. So I had blonde hair, but then black pieces popping out. Uh-huh. And I showed up and there were people around and I had just got my hair done and I was like, "Do you like it?" And he was like, "No, I like your hair better long." So that is that. Okay.
Things you should never tell your soon-to-be wife.
Also, what is happening?
No, show this one. That is so awkward.
This must have been circa 2000.
2008.
Okay, so we had been married almost 2 years. This is horrifying.
Yeah. So
Terrifying.
I don't know. So we had this great idea to go
is
take
this?
pictures together. We were living in Dallas at the time. and we had this
Look
great
at your little
idea
squatty
to
squat.
take pictures. So we put a camera on
bear.
we had a camera on a little
Tripod?
and I would set it up. She'd be over there, and then I'd push the button and run till the timer came out. And for some reason, wait, let me see that again. For some reason, I don't understand.
You have a
Whoa.
oh. Like a bear
For some reason, I don't know
rubbing
what's
his butt
going
on
on,
the
but
tree.
I literally am like squatting and putting my hands between my legs. I look like a little elementary girl who's embarrassed to take a picture.
And then this one is we were dating. I want to say 2000. No, we were married. I don't think anyone else was married.
Yeah, I think that was 2006. That may have been 2005.
We may have just gotten
I think that was.
engaged or
I
something.
think no, it's 06.
Oh, I have a.
It's right there, 7/11/06.
Yeah, but we wouldn't have been going somewhere 3 days before our wedding.
I don't know. It says 7/11/06.
I
But
have a ring on.
You
but-
had a ring on.
And
Did I have
what
a
is
ring
this
on?
ball around your neck? No, this hat.
Okay,
what is
so
happening?
puka shells were super
These
in back then.
pants, my pants.
And like using hemp necklaces, and so my buddy made me one in Bible college. He made me one, and it had
Who
I don't know
made
why,
that?
but he put this big old ball on it.
I don't
And I
remember
was like,
seeing
oh, that's
either.
cool, but it was almost too tight where it would like choke me enough. You know,
Honestly,
it was
this
weird.
sounds a
I know,
little
it was weird.
inappropriate. I'm
It was
gonna be
weird.
honest. This sounds
It
a
was
little
weird.
bit like
we go back to things we've done, and I'm like, what was I thinking? Well, like, what was I
like
doing?
it. Honestly, you never mentioned that it felt like it was.
Oh yeah,
choking
it was
you,
like
and that
nice.
This is
It was
a different.
kind of tight right there
Nope,
on the
we're done. No.
It was.
This is engaged.
Oh, what is-
engaged, but not married yet. I
If
think
you can see my hair, I look like Jim Carrey from Dumb and Dumber.
it's all like brushed forward.
It's brushed forward.
Oh,
And, like,
you know
short.
what's funny is Julian asked me to straighten his hair. Do you have a straightened hair one?
No, not right here.
Oh, I gotta get one.
Yeah, we have.
So he asked me to straighten his hair when we were dating and I shared a straightener with my mom.
Yeah.
And she was like, I need to talk to you. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And she goes, did you do something with my straightener? And I was like, yeah, I straightened Julian's hair. And she goes, did you straighten his pubic hair? What in the actual heck? I was like, oh no. And she goes, the hair that was on my straightener
Was
looks
black
like pubic hair.
and
And I was
curly.
like, that's what his hair looks like. So no, I did not, nor would I ever.
It was way too funny.
Anyway,
We've
so-
had some great memories.
I mean,
with
I
your
feel like
family.
this is probably
okay, but
enough
this
for
is
now.
my emotional eating, getting ready to get married. And
feel like
no,
I
this is
have a
right
good
after
one.
we're married, I think. But
No, I think we were
emotional
like this was before we got
eating.
married. I think.
Yep.
Or maybe it was the week. I don't know. But
and literally, it looks like I'm like, don't talk to me, don't touch my food. This is mine.
like I shouldn't eat this, but
I'm an emotional
I'm
eater.
going
It's
to.
just something I go through.
Okay, so your mom. One more.
My mom probably tagged us on it.
Your
She's
mom
the queen
posts,
of
like,
tagging us on the worst pictures. I
of
love
ourselves,
her.
yes.
But they tag us in the worst pictures of ourselves.
I swear there was just one, but I probably.
I just go, Anita strikes again.
I know. I'll have to go back and find it. But
Well, we showed a lot
of your
about me.
straight
How
hair.
about you? I love this one. This is one
Oh,
of my
what is
favorites.
this face? That's like my.
That's your model face. These are good
Yeah,
times.
those are good times.
I love looking
You know, you
back.
look back and you're like,
What in the
oh
actual
dear,
were we thinking?
oh dear. Yeah, I don't know. I have to find one of your straightened hair. I will find one and I will post it for all the people because it was probably. I mean, this one's pretty old, but your hair's not straight. This
No,
is.
that's spiky puka shell.
Probably can't see it. I'll
Spiky
save all
puka
these
shell.
and share them for you. But anyway,
Good times.
marriage.
Marriage is
Marriage.
fun. We grew
Is
up
it?
together because we were.
We did.
We were young.
We've been together
19 and 17.
A long time.
Married at 20 and 18, and
Woo, yeah.
we basically grew up together and just
Yeah.
kind of figured out life and
Yeah.
went through a lot of stages together. There was a season where I wanted to grow my hair out. I don't exactly have
I
the
really wanna find
type
a
of hair
picture.
that grows out well. I have
It
more,
grows out. It
It
just-
does. I just have more of like a straight coursey fro. It's like not curly like a fro, but it's just like
Well,
just
because
like
your
this
hair is
weird
very
coursey.
coarse and
yeah.
thick. Like, I mean, if he cuts his hair and doesn't clean it up super good, or like there's a
Someone's
leftover,
getting a sliver.
I've gotten slivers from his hair. I know. It's
Barbers
weird. Anyway,
can't stand me.
No one. We don't want to talk about that anymore. We've overstayed our welcome with the pictures of ourselves. Anyway. So in light of it being Valentine's Day, we're like, let's just do a little reminiscing,
love
encouraging the
reminiscing.
people to reminisce, right?
Yes.
Okay, so when you think about marriage or your marriage in general, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? I'm asking you this question, not you, but you.
Oh, I was going to
the
answer.
people.
Do you want
Like,
my answer?
you can if you want to. What's the first
Sex.
thing?
From the day one, I get to have sex? This is awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Well, if you're not Julian or a guy.
Or a guy.
Anyway, I think that the reason I ask that question is oftentimes what happens is we lose sight of like the purpose of marriage,
Yeah,
right? We
yeah.
just, it's so easy. It gets muddy. It's busy. And marriage has like seasons, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you have seasons where you're like, this is just so amazing.
I love this so much.
And then there's other seasons where you're like,
If that guy
Lord,
talks to me one more time.
why did you give me this man? I'm just kidding. But there's
It's
just
true. You're not
seasons.
kidding.
Marriage
It's serious.
has seasons. And just like life has seasons, the year has seasons. And it's like everything has a season,
Yeah.
right? And sometimes marriage feels harder than other seasons. Sometimes you're like, this is so easy. I don't know why my friends are having a hard time. And there's just like, it can be a roller coaster, right?
sure.
But we lose sight of what marriage is intended to be,
Yeah.
the purpose of our marriages. And I remember being so like, because people would say like, the honeymoon's ending. And I'd be so
Oh, they said it
annoyed
all
by
the
them.
time.
18
Yes.
months, you just wait. The honeymoon will be over.
Yep.
And you're just like, whatever.
Everyone was so negative.
And we had marriage mentors or, like a husband and wife mentor. And they're like, it doesn't have to end. You can
Yeah.
always be madly in love. And I would say we've always been madly in love.
Yeah.
But the honeymoon, it ends.
Yeah, for sure.
Figuratively and literally. Our honeymoon, we've told the story. Julian plugged the toilet,
Oh gosh.
had to plunge it,
You love pulling up that
washed
story.
the poo down the shower.
Like I said, I was a lot
I
of
was
learning
like,
to learn.
this
A
man
lot of
is
learning to learn.
disgusting. So then when I go into my teenager's bathroom and I'm like, you got it from your daddy.
Yeah, for
Am I
sure.
wrong?
There's times I go in there and I'm like, I am so sorry.
Yeah, I'm like, anyway. But the honeymoon ends, right? And if you don't learn how to love your spouse in every season,
Yeah.
like you're going to get frustrated.
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
it's not always going to be butterflies and rainbows, and
Not at all.
it's just not.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I remember when we first got married, you remember,
I do. Yep.
it was rough.
You would come home and be super frustrated with me. And
Yeah.
It was rough.
Yeah.
It was a rough time.
But I remember even sitting on my mom's bed and being like, can't I just get divorced? And
she
like,
told me this like
and
a
I'm
few
like,
years into our wedding or
I'm
into
like,
our marriage.
I'm 18. I have so much time left. Like I can literally just like
What was I doing?
just erase this off of my whiteboard.
Why did I
Woo,
do this?
We're done. We can laugh about it now. It's funny, but it's not funny.
I mean, how long did it take you to tell me about this? Because you didn't tell me like back then.
Well, because I knew the right thing to do and I knew that I loved you, but I was like, this is a lot harder than I
Yeah,
imagined. Now, we
for
were
sure.
really, really young.
For sure.
And there's a lot of positives to
Yeah.
us being really
We had
young
no
and getting
careers,
married.
We had
But there
nothing.
also are a lot of things that made it probably a little bit harder. We probably
sure.
gave ourselves a handicap in it a little bit. Like, I don't know how that
Yeah,
works in golf,
yeah.
but like where we made it harder for ourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
In ways.
Yep.
That's fine.
It happens.
But it's like we lose sight of what marriage is intended to be.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
culturally, we're kind of surrounded by different ideas of what marriage should be and what it should look like.
Yeah.
And that it's okay to just be like, I'm done. That's why we see that not only just in America do 50% of marriages fail, but in the church, 50% of marriages also fail.
Yep.
There should be a difference between those
There
two
should be,
numbers.
100%.
We should be honoring marage more in the church because
Yeah.
we know better. And when you know better, you should do better.
Well, and back then when we were super young, you don't really see it or pay attention to it as much. And
Divorce?
Yeah,
Or-
like
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't at least. Like,
mean, I did,
Yeah,
but
you did. You lived
it was
around it,
different,
but
yeah.
I didn't see it very much.
Yeah.
And it was really weird for me when I started having friends getting divorced
Yeah.
and pastors getting
Yeah.
divorced and all this stuff, and I didn't really know how to handle that because for me it was a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
But I get where I get where they come to the point where they're just like, we give up.
Yeah.
We're done. Right.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I think that twofold. I think that it's always like, it's so important to be like, that's not an option for us, you know, like, because if it is, it becomes too easy. Now, I am fully aware that there are circumstances where that becomes an option. You know, I have friends who are divorced. I obviously come from parents that are divorced. And I know there are circumstances that come up where it's just, that is what happens, you know? And it's hard, but I think for us, I mean, I remember you coming to me and being like, so like your parents are divorced and this set of parents, like I have one of my parents has been divorced more than one time. You know, my
grandparents have been
divorced. Like it goes,
generational.
it is. Yeah. And so I remember you being like, so like, is that something that you're going to do? Like he was genuinely concerned,
I was
you know?
genuinely concerned. Yep.
And so, I don't even know how we got on that tangent, but, you know, I think recognizing like, okay, this is something that could happen. And so recognizing like, we're going to have to put up guardrails and be very aware that, there is a very real enemy that would love nothing more than to destroy what God has made.
Exactly.
You know? And that's the thing is whenever God intends something for good and has created something, we know that the enemy loves to destroy it. That's that is literally, if God made it, his heart is to destroy it.
That's so true.
Period.
Yep.
And the enemy's heart is to destroy it, you know? But it's the heart of marriage is that God was like, hey, man is not meant to be alone.
Yeah.
We know.
I still don't like to be alone.
We know.
She leaves the house and I'm like, I don't want to be alone.
And so it was like, I need to send him someone to help him because clearly like on his own, he's going to struggle.
This guy needs it.
You know? And so I'm joking.
No, it's
true.
true.
But it said you shouldn't be alone. So I'm going to make someone fit for him to be a helper, to be that thing that comes alongside him. And that's why, you know, woman was made from the side of man, not behind, not in front, not above, not below, but from the side to be a partner. And, you know, I think what happens too is a lot of times, unfortunately, the church says, well, the man is the head of the woman and he's in charge. And although, yes, like biblically, we know that there's truths and like, you know, the man should lead his family. What happens is it puts this bad taste in the mouth of a woman of like, so I just have no say. I'm not important. Like, what's the purpose? You know, and it's like, no, you're meant to be alongside, to be the helper, to be the one who fills in gaps, you know, for your spouse and to, you know, both sides, like filling in gaps.
Well, and that's the beautiful thing about a healthy marriage is you're going to find yourself in a place where you're able to truly be partners in life. And you're going to complement each other in ways that you can't complement yourself. There's things that I'm not very good at that I struggle with that she's very, very good at and that she doesn't struggle with, and vice versa. And it goes both ways. And so we complement each other so well that we take that to heart. We take that scripture to heart, that we are walking side by side, working together. And there's truly going to be things that I'm going to be better at than you. And there's truly going to be things that you're going to be better. And what I do is when I know that's the case, I just take my hands off and I'm like, all right, girl, you're up. And you just take charge and you make it happen. You know, and vice versa. It works the same way the other way. So that's the purpose. That's like, if you can truly grab a hold of the partnership and the side-by-side working together, like that's so important. That's going to help your marriage to stay strong and on the right direction.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, it gets muddy. Life gets muddy. It gets
super muddy.
You know what I mean? And it just does. Yeah. And making it a priority.
I feel like every day something gets thrown our way, right?
Yeah, for the most part.
Okay, another thing coming our way. What are we going to do? But instead of just folding, we look at each other, grab each other's hands, and move forward. Move forward. Well, and I think that's the thing is like having that foundation and knowing the truth. You know what I mean? And knowing the truth is so important. I was actually just like for a practical story, one of our kiddos is trying to accomplish something, and she's really struggling with it. And we've been working with her, but one thing is she'll say something that's not like truth. Yeah. I'll never be able to do this. I'm too scared. It's too scary. I'm not going to be able to. I might as well just give up. It's never going to happen. We've all said that, right? Like I say, there's things I'll come to you. I'm never going to do this and I don't like this or whatever. But what I'm realizing and what always I speak over her and what we speak over her is when you come in agreement with the lies over and over again, the lies just grow and they become your truth. Yeah, they're not truth, but they become your truth.
my marriage will never be a safe space. I don't really want to be with my spouse anymore. My spouse doesn't love me. I don't love my, whatever it is. It's like the more you say the lies, the more they become your truth, and they grow and they grow and they grow. And so what we're trying to teach her is like, stop when you know you're going to say something that's not the truth. Stop yourself and start saying something that's truth, even if it's not the reality yet.
It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes we have to speak the truth before it's even the reality. And, you know, that's what prayer is. That's what having faith is. That's what believing is saying, okay, you know, it may not be like this yet, but this is the truth. So I'm going to speak the truth instead of coming in agreement with the lie.
Yeah.
Because the more you agree with the lie, the more the lie becomes, like I said, the truth to you, right?
Well, and it goes both ways too. You can be focusing so heavily on the negative, the thing that you feel like it's not going to work out, and you truly will make yourself not work that out, right? Or you can change your mind and you can start to speak, you know, the truth. You can start to speak positivity. You can start to speak those things over your life or your marriage. And that's what you're going to start building and believing. And I would way rather want to build and believe the beautiful things about marriage rather than the things that are hard. And yes, they're hard and you're going to face them, but man, you can get through it. Not we won't get through it, right? There's a whole mental shift when it comes to that.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard. I mean, I think that's the thing is like, it's going to be hard. You know what I mean? But a few things, just like, okay, because we said like, think about your marriage. What do you think about marriage, right? And kind of thinking through that, even write it down, tell your spouse, this is what I think about it, whatever. And then something that I learned just in, you know, obviously with doing a marriage podcast, like we do have real life experience being married, plus, you know, meeting with different couples over the but I always want to make sure like I'm learning, and I like to also dig into like what other people are saying and data, if you want to call it that. But one thing I read is that it's proven in marriage psychology that mutual fondness and admiration makes your marriage more likely to be successful. Yeah. Which I feel like that almost deserves like a duh. Like obviously if you're fond of your spouse and you admire them, but that's why it's vital to cultivate admiration and fondness in your marriage. And we make a practice of talking about and sharing with one another the things that you love about each other. Yeah. So I think it's really easy to lose sight of that too. So ways that I'm like, okay, so you know, when someone asks you like, oh, how did you meet? And you start telling your story, right? Which you call the meet cute. Meet cute. So if you ever watch a rom-com or read rom-com books, the meet cute is where the two main characters meet. Yeah. You know, what's the first time you saw them, when you were like, oh my gosh. And so talking about things like your meet cute, like the first time you met your spouse, even if it's like I saw them and I was like, absolutely never going to happen. Yeah. Like no matter what the story
it happens a lot.
It does. You're going to be like, I thought they were gross or whatever. Your meet cute, your engagement story, you know, like, okay, so you met, you're dating, like funny dating stories, your wedding, good times, embarrassing stories, highlights, you know, of like things in your marriage. And reflect on the times that you've overcome like hard stuff and what you did and how you did that. And when you do that, it's like you'll feel like your body will have a physical response to like the feelings of fondness will start to bubble up, I guess. Like it's an actual like neurological physical response to the feelings you have towards your spouse, right? Because if you start telling your meet cute smile story, try not to smile. Or, you know, the first time you went on a date, or who asked who on a date, or the first time you said I love you, or your first kiss, and you're talking about that, it will make you laugh. It'll make you be like, oh my gosh, can you believe how we were, or whatever. And what it does is it breaks down bitterness. Yeah, whatever barriers and it starts building up those positive feelings, right? And so it's like, really whatever you focus on grows.
Yeah, that's so true.
And so it's like, if you can focus on the positive, those feelings will grow. And if you focus it on the negative, well, guess what? Yeah. They'll grow.
That's what you're going to grow. And that's honestly one of my favorite things to do as a couple is when we kind of talk about our story, or we tell somebody we're having dinner with another couple and we tell them our meet cute.
We have so many fails.
We have a lot of things that we've done and been through that has been
I'm saying like even
tragic.
The cute stories that we have.
A lot of them are just fail. Like our engagement when I tried to
was an absolute disaster. Go ahead. I'm going to let you tell the story. I mean, we've told it several times, but I'm like, new people listen. It's great.
Yeah. So obviously we knew we were going to get engaged because we were both poor. So we put our money together to buy her engagement ring. So there's nothing hiding there.
How romantic.
Yeah, I know. It's so romantic, right? Romantic. But we were broke and going to Bible college and working at the Buckle and, just like.
I literally hate that job so much.
But we were so broke that we would share a set of breadsticks from Pizza Hut.
And red sauce. No, it was Sbarro.
Oh, Sbarro. You're right. Sbarro. We would share breadsticks. But the thing is like I planned out this like whole thing, right? Yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna take her to this park, and there's a big concrete teddy bears there, and she'll think that's super cute. And I'm gonna put the ring in a rose, and I'm gonna blindfold her and drive there, and have her hold on to the rose. And then once we take the blindfold off, she's gonna have the rose in her hand, and the ring's gonna be on top.
Story.
No, that was my plan.
That was in your brain.
Yeah, that was my plan.
What happened?
So I pick her up, and I'm like, hey, you gotta put this blindfold on. So she puts it on, and then I hand her a rose. And she's holding on to the rose, and the rose has the ring inside of it. So we're driving around. This is before like iPhone times. We didn't have iPhones back then, and we didn't have maps.
You're aging us,
And I really should have map quested.
We had maps if you printed it.
I should have map quested it and printed it off because that would have been a much better idea.
Because he thought, of course, being the man that he is,
I know where I'm going.
I've been there once.
So we're driving around.
Dallas is huge.
We're driving around Dallas, and I'm making turns. I'm going here. I'm going there.
I'm getting car
And
sick.
I finally am like, I have no idea where I'm at. I was like, hey, I'm gonna stop right here real quick. Stay here. I'm gonna run inside and ask how to get there, basically. So I get out of the car, go in. She's still blindfolded.
Pause. Gas station. I'm blindfolded in the front seat of the car.
It was a nice part of town.
Our idea of nice though is always different. Okay, blindfolded, left in a running car with the door unlocked. You might as well just put a sign on there that says "Kidnap me," and I will be clueless. And so then I started thinking, no. And so I think I took the blindfold off and locked the door. I was like, I will put this on when I was getting mad. I was like, just ask me. Like, this is terrible. So I'm like, I'm going to just take the blindfold off for a second. So then I put it back on. We finally get there.
Yeah, so I get directions.
I mean, it was like an hour.
We finally get there. I park on the side of the road. So worst mistake of my life. I parked on the side of the road right next to a drain. And so I get out of the car. She's still sitting there in the passenger seat. I open the door. She gets out. She flings the rose. The ring goes flying, and you hear go ding, 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 and it's headed directly towards the.
It didn't go down the drain.
Ditch or whatever it's called, the drain, and you can hear it. And her response wasn't.
My ring.
She literally screams, "My ring!"
Well, duh.
Nothing special. Nothing surprise. She knew exactly what was happening. Obviously. Yeah. Disaster. Almost lost the ring. Before she even put it on, it rolled across the concrete floor.
I still said yes. You're lucky.
Walked through. I remember we had to walk over a bridge. You had high heels on, and her heels are like getting stuck on the bridge and little cracks and all that stuff. But when I asked her to marry me, she said, "Heck yes!" So obviously, I did something right.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
I'll take it. So anyway, the point of that is to say, like, when you talk about it, these feelings of mutual fondness come up. Or even now, if we laugh about, like, at the time, it may not have been as funny because I was like, oh my gosh, this is so frustrating. But when you talk about it, it becomes funny. Yeah. Like when you told me my hair was ugly.
Yeah.
Or that I was a bad kisser when we started dating.
Well, you're just pulling out all the stops
less
today.
Experience than you.
You're pulling out all the stops today. We don't need to talk about my experience. I was a kid.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm like, sorry, I haven't kissed as many people. Okay. Anyway, some people you will not be able to have that conversation and laugh about it. So just careful. We realize. Yeah. I have no filter. So
zero.
He's learned throughout the years that I'm just going to say what comes to my brain.
I love it. Actually, it's pretty fun.
Anyway, the point is to build those feelings of mutual fondness and, admiration and talk about them. And, one thing is always just brag about your spouse, and it's like, Yeah, that's my thing.
The one of the things about that too, Britt, is I think it's we don't want to wait till it's too late, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, okay, it's at the end of my marriage, so let's try to bring up some fond memories. Like, this is something that you should just start practicing.
Yeah.
All the time, as much as possible. Like, obviously don't do it every single day, but you know, it's not really something that's going to happen, but as much as possible, just like, remember when, you know, just, that's why I love to say that at the beginning of the podcast. Hey, remember that one time? Because it helps us just laugh and remember something
you have
funny
done
and
some
good.
ridiculous stuff. Like, I always think I'm the goofy one.
I mean, you're pretty goofy. You're pretty
but
goofy.
I think that, like,
I'm a big nerd. It just is what it is.
the thing about you, and I love it, is that you say or do things and you don't realize always why they're inappropriate or why they're maybe like not like you'll say something. I'm like,
I'm the king of saying the awkward thing.
You can't say that.
You can't say that, especially around people.
Like, or wear a ball around your neck and say that
it's choking me.
But here's the thing I would encourage you to do, because here's the point of the podcast, right? It's to encourage you in your marriage and help you to grow closer to your spouse, right?
Sure.
Is one, really think about like, what comes to my mind when I think about my marriage? Is it positive? Is it maybe things that I need to flip the script on and change, right?
Yeah.
Or we need to change. And then remember what the purpose of marriage is. You know, it's, if you're wanting your spouse to complete you, like, you complete me, like, you need to really check your expectations, because it's just never going to happen, right? Like, it's just not going to happen. And that's not the purpose of marriage, is not that it complete you. It's supposed to be a complement to who you are, and a coming alongside, not a complete fulfilling of who you are. And so it's like, you know, checking your expectations is huge. And when I realized, like, dang, you know what? I think I expect more from Julian than I expect from myself sometimes. And I'm being, that's not now, but sometimes. But sometimes I do have to check marks. Like I always wrote down, like, you need to have check marks as you go, and like mile markers, you know, like when you're on a long road trip, like it starts at mile 1, you know, like when you cross over to the next state, like we go to California a lot for going to Disney or going to cheer or whatever. And you cross over to California and you're at mile 1, you know, and it's like, as you go, then it's mile marker 52, mile marker this, but in your marriage, you're going to have mile markers, you know, and making those checkpoints. Like if you never stopped for gas, you'd run out of gas. If you never checked your tire pressure, you'd get a flat tire. So it's like, in your marriage, you need to have those checkpoints that you set up. You need to talk about things that are going on, or you're going to end up broken down on the side of the road in the desert, you know, and you're going to look and go,
that was a really good analogy.
If only we would have stopped and checked in. If only we would have gone back and started doing the things we should have done. And it's a lot harder to get AAA to come out into the desert and tow you back.
So true. So true.
Rather than being able to make it, you know, more. Yeah. And I mean, I know that's like a car analogy. Like, well,
no, that's great. Even fatigue, because when you're going 100 miles per hour and you're not stopping and you're no, we don't go 100 miles per hour. Like, I'm just saying in marriage, metaphorically. But like there was one time when we drove from Seattle to New Mexico straight through without stopping.
And we would not be able to do that now.
It's a 24-hour drive, and we just did it straight through. She drove a little during the day. I drove through the night. I just remember.
I feel like I never drove.
You did. I remember the fatigue of getting to New Mexico and feeling like I lost a few days, because like if we just would have stopped and rested, and then I would have had that feeling. And that's the same thing with your marriage. Like you can be going, and just going like all out, right? 100%, 100 miles per hour. All of a sudden you're looking at each other and you're like, oh, what is going on? Like what even happened? And that's where it's important for you to stop and have those checkpoints, and because it's going to just help you not be completely fatigued and lose yourself because of what's going on. Yeah.
Well, and I think, you know, the checkpoints, and so just to kind of like bring it full circle, is asking yourself, like I said, what do you think about marriage now? Yeah. Do you have the right expectations, and do you really have the right idea of what your marriage is supposed to be? You know, and then start looking back and like talking about it with your spouse. Like, when's the last time you did that? Like, hey, remember that one time we fill in the blank, and see what that reaction does in you. If it's don't bring up something bad. This is not the moment to be
something they're like super sensitive about.
Remember how I asked you to do this and you didn't? Those are not the moments I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is something positive. Like, remember that date we used to do? Like, okay, remember when we were so broke that we would go to Costco and share a hot dog and a drink and ice cream? Like, remember when we would go and just do this, or whatever it is, or remember when we would...
The good times.
Yeah, like we would spend all of our first few years anniversaries at my grandparents' house on Ocean Shores because we couldn't afford to do it, and it would be so sweet. They'd leave us a card with money, and then they would
a gift card to the Mexican restaurant.
And they would leave and go to my parents' house.
Yeah, it was so sweet.
And stay there so that we could have their house by ourselves. Or if they were home, they would then like take us to dinner, make us breakfast, do all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, talk about something that's going to bring up those positive feelings and watch or recognize the reaction that you have.
Yeah.
Like, like it's making me feel loving towards my spouse, And a lot of times, like, you can't live on yesterday's, bread.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't.
It's going to go moldy.
But at the same time, sometimes it's good to look back and go, this is the positive. Now we need to look forward, but every once in a while, it's good to go back and go, look at what we've done. Look at how far we've come.
Yeah, that's
look
true.
at the life we've built. Look at the kids that we have, and then be able to move forward and go like, okay, we can do this.
That's good. That's really good. Incredible.
Thanks, babe. I laugh because sometimes I'm like, okay, like, what do you want to talk about today? And he's like, oh.
Well, yeah. Deep. When I'm deep in work, my brain cannot even go there.
I'll say something and then he's all, wow.
Yes.
And I'm like, you act surprised. I'm like, don't act so surprised.
That's amazing.
You have great ideas too.
Oh, totally. Totally.
Anyway, thank you for coming, listening. Thank you for coming to my podcast. Thanks for listening to the Young, Dumb, and in Love podcast. We would love to hear from you. We want to know your meet cute or your engagement story or whatever your wedding fail, your tell your spouse they're not a good kisser, whatever that is. We want to hear like your story, right? Because it's fun. It's fun to hear other people's stories. And so wherever you're listening to this, comment your story or post it below. Whatever. Julian will do all the ding, ding, Young, Dumb, and in Love. But we want to hear your story.
So she, obviously you can see she's
I don't edit the things.
Yeah. I make the videos. She comes up with the content. So it's so great.
It's a great.
We're a great team. We're complimenting each other. This is so good. Awesome. Okay. Well, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And we're so grateful for every single one of you who listens and is a part of this community. And we'll see you next time.
We were young, we were dumb, and in love, but we knew this was made for us. No matter what